Have you ever made a small mistake, used the wrong word, mixed up a sentence in front of someone, and then hours later lay in bed cringing, replaying that one tiny moment again and again?
Oh, that feeling. One small slip and your brain wants to play it on repeat, like the most embarrassing little movie ever made.
If that sounds familiar, please don't worry. That cringe doesn't mean you failed. It means your brain is doing something surprisingly powerful. Hi everyone, I'm Leo.
And I'm Mia. Welcome to Perspective Peak. And today, we're flipping something completely upside down. Your mistakes are not your enemy. They might just be your secret superpower.
Because the fear of making mistakes is the number one thing that keeps people quiet, and that silence is the very thing that stops us from growing. This is exactly what Perspective Peak is here for, growing your mind and your English together.
And don't worry about the English today, friends. This is friendly B1 level. Clear sentences, simple words, spoken at a comfortable speed. Every time we use a stronger word, we'll stop and explain it right away. You don't need to be perfect, and honestly, that's the whole point of today's episode. You just need to be here. Let's grow together.
Okay, Mia, let's start at the very beginning. When we say learn from your mistakes, what does that really mean? Because people say it all the time, like a poster on a wall. Is it actually real?
Great question, and here's my favorite way to think about it. Imagine you're learning to walk through a dark room full of furniture and the light is off. The first time you walk forward and bang, you hit the corner of a table with your leg. It hurts. Now here's the magic. Your brain takes a little photograph of that moment. Table right there, that hurts. So the next time you walk through, you step around it without even thinking.
So the bruise on your leg is basically a map of the room.
Exactly. Every mistake is your brain drawing a map. A perfect, painless walk teaches you nothing. You learn the room because you bumped into things. And language is the same. Every forgotten word, every wrong verb, every awkward pause is your brain drawing a map of English. The mistake isn't the failure. The mistake is the lesson arriving in disguise.
And here's something interesting. Think about getting a test back. If you got everything right, you don't really know which part of your studying worked. But a mistake points right at the exact spot that needs you. It's like a little arrow saying, look here, this is where you grow next.
I love that. A correct answer says, well done, but a mistake says, here's your next lesson. The mistake is actually more useful.
Oh, so when I get something wrong, my brain is actually learning more than when I get it right.
In many cases, yes, and there's real science behind that, which we'll get to. Think about a baby learning to walk. A baby falls down hundreds of times. Hundreds. But we never look at a baby and say, wow, what a failure, give up. We say, look, they're learning. Every fall is teaching their little body about balance. Somewhere along the way, though, we forget that this is how all learning works, and we start treating our own falls as shameful instead of useful.
So we cheer for a baby's mistakes, but punish our own.
Exactly. And here's the key idea for today, and it's so freeing. You are not supposed to be perfect. You are supposed to be improving. And improving is messy, bumpy, and full of small bruises. So today, we're going to learn how to turn those bruises into a map.
Beautiful. Okay, let me tell everyone the story that taught me this, the moment I froze completely.
Ooh, the freeze. Tell us.
So a few years ago, I was traveling and I walked into a small bakery to buy some bread. Simple, right? A child could do it. And the woman behind the counter smiled and asked me something friendly. And I opened my mouth to answer, and the word for bread completely vanished from my brain. Gone. I knew it the day before. I knew it that morning. I had said it correctly 100 times in practice. But in that moment, with her looking at me and a small line of people behind me, nothing came out.
Oh no, the spotlight moment.
The spotlight. My face went red, my hands got a little sweaty, and I just pointed at the bread like a nervous tourist and said, "This, please." I felt so embarrassed, my ears were burning. I remember walking out onto the street thinking, I'm terrible at this. I've studied for years and I can't even buy bread. I'll never be fluent. It felt like proof that I was failing. But here's the science, and it completely surprised me. Researchers have found that your brain remembers a moment of failure far more strongly than a moment of success. There's an emotional highlight placed right on it. The embarrassment, the racing heart, all of that tells your brain, this is important, save this, don't lose this again.
Wait, so the embarrassment isn't just pain, it's like a highlighter pen for your memory?
Exactly. A painful mistake gets highlighted in bright yellow in your memory. A sentence you said perfectly, your brain forgets it by lunchtime. But that bakery, I will never forget that word again for the rest of my life. The embarrassment burned it in permanently.
You know, that refrains everything. We spend so much energy avoiding those red-faced moments, but they're the exact moments that teach us the most.
Right? If I had stayed home, safe, never walked into that bakery, I would have protected myself from the embarrassment, but I also never would have learned that word so deeply. The lesson is that hot, red-faced moment of freezing is not your brain breaking. It's your brain saving the lesson in its strongest, deepest memory. So for our learners, every word you forget in a real conversation is a word you're about to remember forever. The freeze is the gift.
The freeze is the gift. I love that. Okay, my turn. And my story is about the opposite problem. The person who's so afraid of mistakes that they barely make any.
Ooh, the careful one. Go on.
So I once had two friends learning English at the same time. I'll call them Tom and B. Tom was a perfectionist. Before he said anything, he checked it 3 times in his head. Is the grammar right? Is the word correct? Is my accent okay? So he spoke very slowly, very carefully, maybe 2 sentences an hour. B was the opposite. She just talked. She made mistakes constantly, wrong tenses, funny words, messy grammar. She didn't care. She just kept going.
Let me guess who improved faster.
You already know. After 1 year, B was having full, happy conversations. Tom was still stuck, still careful, still quiet, and honestly, a little miserable. And here's the science. This is the difference between what researchers call a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Let me explain both simply. A fixed mindset says, my ability is fixed, like my height. A mistake proves I'm bad. A growth mindset says, my ability grows like a muscle. A mistake is just exercise.
Ah, so Tom saw every mistake as proof he was failing, and B saw every mistake as a rep at the gym.
Exactly that. One of them treated a mistake like a final judgment, the other like a piece of useful feedback. And here's the painful part of the science. Studies have found that when people feel demoralized, when a mistake makes them feel stupid or incompetent, their brains can actually stop taking in new information. The fear closes the door to learning. It's like trying to pour water into a bottle with the cap still on. Nothing gets in, no matter how hard you try. So poor Tom, by being so afraid of mistakes, was accidentally blocking his own progress. His perfectionism wasn't protecting him. It was the cage.
So trying to be perfect was the very thing keeping him stuck.
Exactly. And the saddest part? Tom actually knew more grammar than B. On a written test, he'd win every time. But knowing and doing are 2 different worlds. B was out there living in English, bumping into tables, drawing her map, while Tom stood frozen at the door, holding a perfect map of a room he was too scared to enter.
Oof, all that knowledge locked behind fear.
The lesson is perfectionism feels like a high standard, but it's really just fear wearing a smart suit. The messy speaker who's wrong all the time is actually moving forward fast because every mistake is a rep. So please be more like Bea. Be brave enough to be wrong. Being understood matters 1,000 times more than being perfect.
So good. And, quick pause because I want to tell everyone where we're going. Because in a few minutes, I'm going to share a real experiment that proves something almost shocking. That how you feel after a mistake can change whether you keep failing or start winning. Even when two people have the exact same information. Two people, same knowledge, completely different results. And the only difference was a feeling. So stay with us because this one changed how I think about failure completely.
Ooh, the experiment. Yes, that one is wild. I still think about it. But first, let's talk about something that isn't about language at all. The burnt dinner.
The burnt dinner. Okay, why does that matter?
So picture this. Last winter, I decided to cook a big special meal for some friends. I was so excited. And I tried a new recipe, got distracted talking, and you guessed it, I burnt the main dish. Completely black. The smoke alarm went off, my friends were arriving in 20 minutes, and my beautiful dinner was ruined.
Oh, the panic. What did you do?
Well, in that moment, I had a choice. I could collapse and feel like a total failure, burst into tears, cancel the whole night, decide I'm a terrible cook, or I could bounce back. So I took a breath, laughed at myself, ordered some pizza, and we ended up having one of the best, most relaxed nights we'd had in ages. Nobody remembers the burnt dish. They remember the laughing. And here's why this matters for English. The skill I used there wasn't cooking. It was resilience. That's our B2 word. And it means the ability to recover quickly after something goes wrong, like a rubber ball that bounces up after it hits the floor.
So a burnt dinner is resilience training?
Yes, every small mishap in life, a missed train, a burnt meal, a wrong turn, is your brain practicing how to recover. And language needs that exact same muscle. Because when you're speaking English and you make a mistake, you don't have time to cry about it. You need to bounce. Smile, laugh, use your hands, find another word, and keep the conversation going.
And I guess the people who never let themselves fail at small things never build that muscle.
Exactly. If you arrange your whole life to avoid any little failure, never cook the hard recipe, never take the risky route, never speak unless you're sure, your resilience muscle stays tiny and weak. Then the first real mistake knocks you flat because you never practiced getting up. The lesson is, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a muscle you build every time something small goes wrong and you choose to bounce instead of break. So the next time you burn the dinner or miss the bus, don't be hard on yourself. You're secretly training the exact skill that makes you brave in English.
Bounce instead of break. Writing that one down. Okay, now my experiment, the one I promised.
Yes, tell them.
So researchers ran a really clever experiment. They invited a big group of people to learn a brand new, invented language. Strange symbols nobody had ever seen. And they split the people into two groups. In the first round, one group was told they got every answer right no matter what. The other group was told they failed every single question, no matter what. So it was a trick. The success and failure were fake, decided in advance.
So both groups actually had the same information by the end?
Exactly the same. That's the genius of it. After the first round, everyone knew the same amount. Then came round two, played for real. And here's the shocking result. The people who had been told they were succeeding kept doing well. They rose to the top. And the people who had been told they were failing kept failing. Same information, completely different results. The only difference was how they felt about themselves.
Wait, really? So just feeling like a failure made them actually fail, even with the same knowledge?
That's exactly it. When the failure group felt demoralized, that means feeling defeated and hopeless, their brains closed up and stopped learning well. The feeling of failure became a real failure.
And the other group, just feeling successful, made them keep succeeding?
Same thing in reverse. Feeling capable kept their brains open, curious, relaxed. And a relaxed, open brain learns beautifully. So two people, identical knowledge,
but one was told a happy story and one was told a sad story. And those stories came true. And this is the most important lesson in the whole episode. Your mistakes don't decide your future. The story you tell yourself about your mistakes does. If you say, "I failed, so I'm bad at this," you close the door. If you say, "I made a mistake, so I'm learning," you keep it open. The mistake is neutral. Your story is the superpower or the trap.
That gave me chills. So the same stumble can lift you up or pull you down depending only on the story you tell about it.
Only the story. And for our learners, this is everything. When you forget a word, don't tell yourself, "I'm hopeless." Tell yourself, "I'm building my map." Same moment, totally different future.
Beautiful. Okay, peak performers, let's turn all of this into something you can actually use. Our step-by-step action plan. 4 steps to make failure your superpower. Leo, step 1.
Step 1. Change the story you tell yourself in the moment. Here's what to do. The instant you make a mistake, catch the words in your head and swap them. Instead of "I'm so stupid," say, "Okay, that's one for my map." Why does this work? Because as we just learned in that experiment, the feeling of being a failure can literally shut down your learning brain. The words you say to yourself decide whether the door stays open or slams shut. For example, when you freeze on a word, instead of "I'll never learn this," try "Now I'll remember this one forever." A common mistake is letting the cruel voice win and beating yourself up. Don't. Here's a simple test. Would you say those harsh words to a friend who was learning? Never. So don't say them to yourself. Self-kindness isn't soft. It's how your brain stays open enough to actually improve.
So important. Step 2, keep a tiny mistake map. Here's what to do. Every day, write down just 1 or 2 mistakes you made in English and the correct version next to them. A small notebook or a note on your phone. Why does this work? Because a mistake you only feel disappears, but a mistake you write down becomes a lesson you can return to. Your brain loves seeing the pattern. For example, if you keep saying, "I have 25 years," instead of "I am 25 years old," writing it once or twice fixes it forever. And here's a bonus. When you look back after a month, you'll see how far you've come, which feels wonderful. A common mistake is trying to remember everything in your head. Don't trust your memory, trust the paper. The map only works if you draw it.
I love that. Turn your bruises into a notebook. Step 3?
Step 3, bounce fast. Don't freeze, flow. Here's what to do. When you make a mistake mid-conversation, practice recovering in 1 second instead of stopping. Smile, say, "Sorry, let me try again." Use your hands, or just use a simpler word. Why does this work? Because the goal of speaking is not perfection. It's being understood and keeping the conversation alive. A fast bounce keeps you talking. A long freeze ends the moment. For example, if you forget the word umbrella, don't stop. Just say, "The thing for the rain." People will understand and help you, and you'll probably both smile. A common mistake is freezing in shame and going silent. Don't disappear. Bounce, smile, and flow around the gap like water around a rock. Remember, the other person isn't judging your grammar. They're just happy to be talking with you.
So good. And that brings us to our final step. Step 4. Go looking for harder conversations on purpose. Here's what to do. Instead of hiding in your comfort zone, gently choose situations that are a little too hard for you. Order in English, join a speaking group, talk to someone faster than you. Why does this work? Because just like a muscle, your skill only grows when you give it a challenge slightly bigger than what's easy. Easy conversations keep you the same. Slightly hard ones make you grow. For example, once you can chat about the weather comfortably, push yourself to talk about your opinions or tell a longer story. A common mistake is only ever practicing what already feels safe. watching the same easy videos, saying the same easy sentences. Comfort feels nice, but growth lives one small step outside it. Seek the bumps, there where the map gets drawn. And remember, you don't have to leap. One small step past comfortable is enough.
4 steps. Change your story, keep on a stake map, bounce fast, and seek harder conversations. That's a complete system, Leo.
It really is. And notice, not one of these steps asks you to stop making mistakes. They ask you to make better use of them. Because mistakes were never the problem. Hiding from them was.
Beautifully said. Okay, peak performers, it's time for everyone's favorite part, the extended vocabulary corner. 5 powerful words from today, with examples from both of us. Leo, word 1.
Let's do it. Word number 1, mistake. A mistake is something you do wrong, often by accident. A wrong word, a wrong choice, a small error. Mia, give us an example.
Sure. I made a small mistake in my email, but I fixed it quickly.
And mine, don't be afraid of making mistakes. They are how we learn.
Great word. Word number 2, failure. Failure is when something doesn't succeed or when you don't reach a goal. But remember, today we learned it's really just a step on the way.
My example, my first business was a failure, but it taught me everything.
And mine, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it.
So true. Word number 3, a wonderful B2 word, resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover quickly after something goes wrong, to bounce back up like a ball hitting the floor.
My example, learning a language takes resilience because you fail a little every day.
And mine, her resilience amazed me. Every time she fell, she got back up stronger.
Lovely. Word number 4, mindset. Your mindset is the way you think about something, your basic attitude. A growth mindset means believing you can improve with effort.
My example, when I changed my mindset, mistakes stopped scaring me.
And mine, a growth mindset turns every problem into a lesson.
And word number 5, a great everyday idiom, to bounce back. To bounce back means to recover and feel strong again after a difficulty or a failure.
My example, I had a terrible week, but I bounced back by the weekend.
And mine, don't worry about falling, worry about how fast you bounce back.
5 powerful words: mistake, failure, resilience, mindset, and bounce back. Use even one this week and it's yours forever. And notice, you just learned them through stories and feelings, not a boring list. That's why they'll stick.
And here's a little challenge that's also practice. Try describing one of your own failures out loud in English using today's words. I made a mistake, but I have a growth mindset, so I bounced back with resilience. See? You just practiced English and your action plan at the same time.
That's the whole perspective peak magic. Grow the mind and the English together.
So here's the big lesson of today, friends. Your mistakes are not proof that you're failing. They're your brain drawing a map, saving the lesson in its strongest memory. The freeze, the burnt dinner, the forgotten word, they're not the end of the story. They're the training. The bravest, fastest learners aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who fall, smile, and get back up one more time. Every single fluent speaker you admire was once exactly where you are now, making mistakes, feeling embarrassed, and choosing to keep going anyway. And the only thing that decides your future is the story you choose to tell about them.
And please be patient and gentle with yourself. You are going to make mistakes tomorrow and the day after, and that's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're brave enough to keep trying. One bruise at a time, you're drawing your map. Be proud of every single stumble because each one means you showed up and tried instead of hiding. So this week, go make a beautiful mistake on purpose. Speak, get it wrong, and smile. We are so proud of you for being imperfect with us.
And tell us in the comments, what is one mistake in English or in life that actually taught you something important? Don't be shy. Write it in English, mistakes and all. This is the perfect place to practice. We can't wait to read every single one and reply to you.
Subscribe, hit the bell, and start thinking deeper while you see higher. Keep learning, keep growing.
See you next week on Perspective Peak.
Perspective peak, yeah, we set the pace. Moving to the top, we win the race. We win the race. Perspective peak, start thinking deeper while you see higher.